Okay, so let's look at the hardware side of it. And I think that's probably one of the first questions is, what do you use? So you obviously have your expensive devices. You've got your Samsung, Apple, and Huawei. I specifically use those three as an example because all three are different. Samsung being Samsung, it's an Android platform, very well known and probably the world's largest mobile provider, hardware provider. Then we've got Apple. No one needs introduction to Apple. And then of recent, Huawei. And the reason why I've got those is they are super expensive. I used to own all of them. I don't own any of them anymore for that specific reason. I mean, your current Samsungs are anything from 10 to 20,000 Rand, and they've always been like that. And I'm really hesitant to navigate off a device that costs 15,000 Rand or 20,000 Rand. As soon as my navigation device actually is worth a portion of the value of the motorbike that I'm on, then I've got a really big problem with it. Okay, but I'm here to tell you guys that you don't need to use a Samsung, Apple, or Huawei. The other problem is that with Huawei and the fight with the Trump administration and all that, and they're not running on most of their devices, they're not running Play Store anymore. That's also a problem because a lot of the apps that we're going to use comes from the Play Store, or the main app comes from the Play Store. Okay, so what alternatives do we have? Well, we've got affordable options. I've listed 3 names, but there are thousands of options out there, and you guys can choose, and it might mean testing a little bit, but I'm going to give you some guidelines here. So these are the 3, let's call them Chinese phones that I use. Because I'm in the mobile industry, I've got the benefit of knowing about these devices. And in South Africa, I know my audience now on this webinar is worldwide. We've got people from all over the place. But within the South African context, a lot of these phones have never seen the light of day because the mobile networks don't bring them in and don't support them. However, they are world players. They actually sell more mobile phones than we use in South Africa in total. So let's quickly have a look at them. Xiaomi is a very good brand. I don't know if any of you guys use any of those brands. Please give me a thumbs up. But Xiaomi is a fantastic Chinese brand. I think one of the largest ones in the world. They're comparing to Samsung. Then of recent, I discovered about 4 years ago this weird brand called Umidigi. And it's very interesting because the Umidigi is the current phone I'm using. I'll show you guys. This is the phone I'm using. It's a very thin phone. And this compares with a Galaxy S9. But I'll tell you how amazing it is now. So I've been using this now for 3 years. 3 years full time as a business phone, for myself as well as for all my navigation. One device. But we'll get to that now. And then obviously you've got Blackview. Blackview is very well known for its rugged phones. And I actually went through the rugged phone stage for a bit. It doesn't really trigger my fancy because these phones, the rugged phones, tend to be very big and bulky. But they are definitely what you can look at. But those are just 3 names that I've been using for the last 10 years. And the reason why I don't do any of these expensive phones like the Samsung and the Apple, my last phone before the Chinese phone was a Samsung. That cost on a contract something like 10,000 plus 15,000 Rand. The Umidigi that I'm currently using, this cool device, I'll do a screen share for you guys a little bit later, being on the specifications of a Samsung S9 and reliability as well, costs about 3,000 Rand for this phone. In some areas, it's got more functionality than the S9 and the Samsungs because they haven't been limited by any networks, and the guys build amazing stuff in this. Nicole, does it have a good camera? Yes, it's got... obviously, on the camera side, there are areas where I will say Samsung is better. I think this has got a 20 meg camera at the back, or a double camera. It basically does what I want. And from the fact that this costs me 3,000 Rand and your Samsungs are 10 to 20,000 Rand, that's quite a big difference for me. So even if you have a Samsung, even if you have one of these more expensive phones, you might actually consider to buy one of the other phones purely for navigation, and it's still cheaper than what you'll get with a GPS device. Quick answer, Dave asked, are these phones all Android? Yes. So I'm a developer, and from a tech point of view, Android's always been better. So but from a development point of view, it's far easier to work with Android in my profession. But then also Android just has tons of more flexibility, especially for this type of thing that we want to do. So let's quickly have Just for you guys, it's a bit of a cheat sheet. If you are looking for devices, if you don't find UmiDigi or Xiaomi or Blackview or any of that, if you just look for these specifications, you'll definitely get something. Okay, so firstly, I would recommend Android just because there's a lot of applications that you can use. From a CPU point of view, I go for a quad or octa-core. Quad-core is 4 CPUs, octa-core is 8 CPUs, that's even better. This Xiaomi, I think, I stand under correction, it's either got a 2 quad-cores or 1 octa-core, I'm not sure, but it's flipping fast. I personally prefer a 6-inch screen. 6-inch screen, you can see from my hand, it's not too big. Same as the S9. It's a nice size. It's not a phablet, so it's not a tablet that's quite bulky. So I always go for something in the line of a 6-inch screen. 4 gigs of RAM, not storage. Storage is in any case 32 gigs or 64 gigs or something like that. But look at your RAM. And the RAM must be a minimum of 4 gigs because with mapping and navigation, you do actually cover, you do actually scroll quite a bit. Okay, so 4 gig RAM. Then the most important thing that is the distinguishing factor for me is a 4 amp battery. Now, for some weird, stupid reason, the branded phones, the big ones, the Samsungs and the Huaweis, they've never invested in large batteries. And I think the reason is the fact that they do actually want you to sort of use it up in a day. I don't get the logic behind it, to be brutally honest. But I don't go for phones with less than 4 amp battery. Now, you would think a 4 amp battery is a large battery. I can tell you this is the same height as a Samsung S9, which I think is like 9 millimeters or something. This has got a 4.1 amp battery. So I've got no idea why the larger brands don't endorse large batteries. I heard somewhere that the new ones, like the 20,000 amp S20 or whatever, that's got a big battery. But to be honest, your UmiDigi, Xiaomis, they all come out with large batteries. So if you've got a 4 amp battery, I navigate, no joke, I listen to music on my Bluetooth, I navigate full screen with a moving screen and GPS on for 8 hours on a 4 amp battery. And if you do like this specific, it's got a fast charger, which means that if I sit and I have a hamburger for lunch and I plug it into my fast charger, by the time I'm finished with my burger, it's charged up to about 100% again. So the battery is probably the biggest thing. Good screen, I do suggest go for screens like a Gorilla Glass, purely because we all know that we do drop it and you do, not on the bike, it's a phone. It's always funny when people say the phone's going to get damaged on the bike. And the chances are you've damaged more the phone carrying it and using it than you have on the motorbike or your Garmin. If you can get a branded phone with that specs or even an older phone, go for it. And then just something that I do add is because of the Huawei being separated from the Google Play Store, is I would suggest go for an Android-based phone so that you do have access to the Play Store and you're not left high and dry to sort of have to customize. If it's an Android phone, you plug it, you download it, and you can work.